Hello world, today we're going to be downloading Docker. We're going to spin up an nginx web server through Docker, and then we're going to host a website or an application through that nginx container that Docker built for us. So let's get started by going to docker.com, and we'll either create an account or we'll sign in with an existing account. Once signed in, you're going to want to download Docker for your operating system if you don't already have it installed. Once it's installed, you're going to want to run Docker. So go ahead and go through the installation process and make sure that you actually run it. A graphical user interface will probably pop up, but we're going to be using the command line instead because it provides us with more powerful features. Cool. I'll then open up the terminal, and let me pull open the desktop here so you can see what's going on. I'm going to change directories to the desktop, and on this desktop I have this test.com folder. In this test.com folder is an index.html file, and let's open it up. This index.html file really just has a basic line of text that says this is the index page for test.com. Now, in the description of this video, you're going to see a GitHub link, and this link is going to have some of the code that we're going to be running here. This is my GitHub account, and I put an explanation of what each line of code is doing a little bit further down here, and we'll go over that in a future lesson. But for now, let's just go ahead and copy this code. And now let's make sure Docker is running by typing in Docker here, and you should receive this message. Sweet. We're going to go ahead and, well, first make sure that you're in that test.com directory. So we'll go to cd test.com, and then we'll paste that code that we downloaded here. And now what Docker is going to do, if this is your first time, is it's going to download this nginx image onto your machine. So it may take a few minutes before all of this command is run, and then you'll see this output here, right? Some sort of similar crazy string. Now if you do docker container ls, you'll see that there is now a container being run in our Docker, which is perfect. And now we should be able to hit our local host on port 8080, and we'll see that website. So there it is. This is the index page for test.com. Now I want to take this a little bit further, and I want to show you that we can host full-on applications through Docker. So I'm going to just copy a demo site that I have, put it in the same directory that we were on. So this test.com is now going to show a bunch of files, and it's pretty much like a full-blown website. Refresh it, and you'll see that Docker is displaying everything. And this website is just working, right? So this is running on a web server. There's no need to download Apache or the whole LAMP stack, whatever people usually do. You can just use Docker. And now to really nail in how cool this is, let's access this from a different device on the same network. So I'm going to switch over to my mobile device, and I'm going to show you that this is in fact a full-blown web server. Now that I'm on my mobile device, you're going to want to make sure that you're on the same wireless network. In this case, I am. So we'll continue. And then I'm going to type in that IP address that I saw on the computer, so 192.168.68.176. And then you're going to want to make sure you're on the same port that we had on the computer, which in this case is 8080. And you can see that this is in fact a full-blown web server, and Docker was able to get this installed, up and running for us in just a matter of seconds. Cool. So now let's go clean up everything we've done on our machine, and we can move on to the next lesson. So now back on the computer, let's go back into the terminal. Let's wrap this lesson up by stopping this Docker container and removing it from our system completely, because this was just a test, right? So we can do docker container ls again to list all the containers that we have running at this point. I'm going to copy the first three digits of the ID that it has here, the container ID. And let me open this up a little bit. And then I'm going to run docker container stop, and then the 3 digits of that ID here. It's going to stop the container. So now if I do docker container ls, you're not going to see it as a running container. You can still see it as the list of containers that you have if you do the -a flag. But let's go ahead and remove this altogether. So I'm going to do docker container rm681, and now if I do that -a, you're not going to see it anymore. You still have the nginx image, so this is important to note. If you're running low on storage or anything, you can do docker image ls, that nginx image is always going to be saved to your account, 134 megabytes. Other operating systems are obviously going to be a little bit larger or smaller depending on its use cases. But this is the basics of Docker. We have downloaded Docker, we've gone into the terminal and used some commands to spin up our first nginx web server, and then we've actually launched a web application on it. We've created a bind mount, believe it or not, so that we can edit things on our local machine, and those edits will go into the Docker container and take place in that container in live time. So let's really illustrate and touch upon a little bit more of this in the next lesson. Thank you guys. Have a great morning.